Hi there, Tracy here again, math specialist with SSS, and I am back today to talk to you a little bit more about some of the financial planning and the financial things that Joe and I have been making some videos about. Today it's just me, and what I want to talk to you today about is financial priorities, meaning how do you decide what's important for you to save for or budget for versus what's important for somebody else. If you go online and you do a little search on financial priorities, sometimes they try to tell you what your financial priorities should be. But I believe that everybody has different priorities in life. And so you should be able to decide what your own financial priorities are, not let somebody else tell you what they are. So first of all, we want to talk about, well, what is a financial goal? What is a financial priority? And basically that just means anything that you can accomplish by saving a set amount of money. So a financial goal for you might be that you want to pay off your student loans, or you want to save enough money to go on a specific trip, or you want to buy a car, or you want to move into your own apartment. So those are just some examples of what your financial priorities might be. Okay, so what we want to talk about today is how do you determine what your priorities could be or what they should be? Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to actually start reviewing what your spending is. Okay, we talked about this when we did our budgeting video, that you want to know where is your money going? How much money are you spending on things? Okay, and again, from our budgeting video, determine your needs versus your wants. Okay, how much money are you spending on things that you have to have? How much money are you spending on things that you just want to have? Okay, then you need to know what's really important to you. Is traveling important to you? Is paying down your debt important to you? Is living on your own versus having a roommate important to you? Is saving for your retirement important to you? What are the things that are most important to you personally? Okay, then it's really important to know what your net worth is. And you might be thinking, okay, I'm in college or I'm just going to graduate. Do I even have a net worth? Well, everybody has a net worth. So what you have to do is you have to take your assets, the things that you own, and subtract your liabilities, so the money that you owe. So do you have a car loan or do you own a car? So that could either be a liability or an asset. Do you have student loans? That would be a liability. So you want to take everything that you own and subtract everything that you owe. And the reason that this is important is because if that number comes out negative, then you might want to really focus on priorities that deal with paying off that debt. If that number comes out positive, then you can really change what your priorities are. Maybe you want to save money. Maybe your priorities can be more focused on spending money. Okay, so whether your net worth is positive or negative is going to have a big effect on what it is that you do with your money in the future. Okay, then you need to compare what are your short-term goals versus what are your long-term goals. Okay, so you might think, oh, I really just want to go on this trip and then another trip and then another trip because everybody likes to go on trips. But you need to also think, well, someday I might want to retire, or someday I might want to buy a house, or someday I might have kids and want to help them pay for college. So you can't just think about what do I want to do in the next year. You need to think about 5 years down the road, or 10 years down the road, or 20 years down the road, so that you get everything that you're going to accomplish in your life covered, not just the next 6 months and those instant wants, but those long-term wants also. Okay. Then you need to think about that financial buffer. And we've talked about in the past calling that your emergency fund. And the reason that's important is that if you don't have that, then a lot of those other goals are just never going to happen. Because say that you're saving for a trip, but then something happens to your car and you need $500 to fix it. Well, if you don't have that emergency fund, there goes your trip fund because the money just came out of that to pay for your car. Okay, so starting with that emergency fund that we've talked about before is a really good place to start so that all your other wants or needs don't get pushed aside. Okay, then you just, so we've gone through all of the, okay, we want to look at how much do I have, what is important to me, and then you want to actually sit down and say, okay, what are my goals? What do I want my priorities to be? So then actually start making a list saying, I want to do these things over the next year, over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years. Okay. You have to actually take time and some effort to figure out what are your financial goals and make some priorities out of them. But then you have to figure out, well, how much money do I actually have to do this? Okay. So you're going to have to look at your expenses and you're going to have to cut out those things that are unnecessary. Okay. And that might mean, okay, I like to go out to eat, and right now I'm spending $200 a month going out to eat. Well, maybe you're going to want to cut that back to only spending $150 going out a month to eat, and use that other $50 to put aside and say, well, that's going to go into my fund for travel, or that's going to go into my fund for savings, or that's going to go into my fund for emergencies. Okay. Or maybe you're spending, $100 going to movies. Well, maybe you're like, well, I have Netflix, so I could watch movies there, and then turn that $100 into something else. So you're going to have to find some money someplace that you're not necessarily needing to spend, and then try to divert it to something else. Okay. So calculate how much you're going to have extra, or how much you're going to need to accomplish these goals, and then maybe set up some separate accounts for those. So like I have one account that's just our travel account. That's the money we set aside just to travel as a family. And I have a savings account that's set aside just to pay our property taxes at the end of the year. So that money can't be touched unless it's just for those things. Okay. And then once you've decided that this is what you're going to do, it's good to have some support. Tell your family that this is what you're doing. Tell your friends that this is what you're doing, so that they can check in on you and say, hey, how's that travel account coming along? Or, hey, have you saved up enough money to buy those really cool shoes that you wanted? Or, something like that, so that you're not doing this on your own. And, maybe you'll reach that goal sooner than you thought, but at least you'll know that you're saving towards something, and that it's your priority, not a priority somebody else made for you. Okay. And as always, if you have any questions about these things, you can always turn to It Makes Sense. They are an amazing resource that we have here on campus. Or don't be afraid to reach out to me at SSS. I'd be happy to talk to you about any of this stuff. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.